We got no music again today. There we go. Black Matters. Good morning, people. Welcome to another early watch. Uh, with me today is G Web filling in for Jimmy, and I thank him. And Dead Horse is here, guys. How's it going?
Good. Been up all night chatting on Angelina's chat, and then started this one up.
I don't know what the fuck is going on today. I got some stuff, but I don't know where to fucking put it. Uh,
Well, I had a question for you when you're looking for that. Any status on the counties?
there is an updated version of that, but I don't remember what the hell I did with it. My county votes tomorrow, and according to what I've read, all of our board members are pro-gun. We don't have any anti-gun members on our county board at all. So we'll see. We have board members who are afraid of directing their citizens to not break the law or to break the law. But I don't think that's really the case. Uh, I don't think it's a law not to pursue state or federal laws if you're not state or federal police. Give me a minute here. I'll try to find it. Yeah, because Mike or Ozzy sent it to me, I think yesterday. And I didn't read the thing to see what was what. Oh, shit. Uh, on a side note that I just found, Oregon's starting this too. Uh, they're starting to come up with the gun sanctuary counties, and I think they've got, let me see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of them that are gun sanctuary counties following in step with Illinois. And a whole bunch of them are contemplating it or working on it. So this may become a bigger thing than I had even hoped. There it is. Let me see here. Oh shit, I'm gonna have to count them.
Hopefully, you need to take your shoes off.
Right now, we've got 23 that have done it.
Well, last thought was 15, so that's pretty good. 7 more, or 8 more.
And we have uh, a dozen or so that are planning to vote on it. And then there's another dozen or so that, well, more than that, 2 dozen that are talking about it, I guess. They're planning to talk about it. So, yeah, it's going up. And I'm glad to see it. I mean, it's time for the people in this country to realize that Chicago is not Illinois. What they run this friggin' state because they have people there, but most of the state don't really fall in lockstep with them. We're just getting fucked by them. So that's a bright spot in the day. I seen something, and I got to pull it up here. This dude got a license plate here in Illinois. Where the hell is that? 1488 was the state's number that they issued. Now, this guy got all kinds of shit because that is supposedly white supremacist number.
I never even heard of that before. 14.
I haven't, me neither. 1488.
Why was 1488 in history a significant date or something? Like, why is 1488?
The first two numbers, the 14 stands for 14 words and references the slogan, "We must secure the existence of our people and the future for white children." The second two numbers, 88, represents the eighth letter in the English alphabet, H. And when put together, they stand for Heil Hitler. Now, who in the fuck sat around and thought of this bullshit?
Well, probably just one guy did somewhere, right? And then, like, that's not a real thing. I've never heard of that.
You know where this shit happens? In fucking prison, when they got nothing but time to figure out shit and come up with weird fucking rules and fucking ways to fuck with each other, and yeah, fucking criminals.
Another one that I heard along these lines, but not the same, is the whole "are you out of your cotton picking mind" is racist.
Well, that makes sense.
Like, I never considered it racist. It was just a substitute for more along the lines of goddamn, you know. Are you out of your goddamn mind? You out of your cotton picking mind?
Yeah, I mean, it had to come from something, though. Here we go, origins.
I mean, I don't get it. Where the fuck does it stop? People in this country are becoming more stupid every goddamn day. Anyway, the state's pulling the license plate number.
Well, that's the other thing. The state should have never issued it if it's a known fucking thing, right?
Yeah, I guess. Wasn't known to me, I can tell you that. I never heard of such shit.
So
Evidently,
it says that cotton picking hands off of me comes from the idea that if you're picking cotton, your hands are all gross from picking cotton. So it's like, you know, your wife would say, like, get your cotton picking hands off me.
Cotton picking is is a term that's like of disapproval, or something like that. Cotton picker was the derogatory term, and then cotton picking referred to like how hard it was, like, to do that, the difficulty. Like, if you say cotton picking, that means something was hard. If you say cotton picker, that's means that something is troublesome or a nuisance, or you disapprove of something.
I don't see a stop to this. Every fucking word out there, every other word out there is going to become some sort of racist slang at somebody.
Well, because our language evolved, so of course it'll never end, because, you know, like, somebody will be like, "Oh, you're a buggy whipper." Like, what the fuck does that mean when you don't have buggies anymore?
Well, I've heard the phrase cotton picking thrown around a lot, and never in any kind of racial thing.
Well, it says in this article, which is phrases.org, right? It says so that blah, blah, blah. Recently, in 2018, it was because a commentator of a basketball game said he must be out of his cotton picking mind, implying the racist connotation, because he said his cotton picking mind, as opposed to, like, what you're saying is, like, wait a cotton picking minute, or like this is like tedious, or like this is a task I don't want to do. You know, like when you describe something as cotton picking, I guess, but when you describe someone's mind as, I guess that's the difference.
I still think that it's just used in the same way that goddamn is used in the American
Well, I
vernacular.
kind of figured, yeah, it was like an alternative to saying taking the Lord's name in vain. So you'd say something to signify, like just something to replace, right? Like, oh, I'm freaking frustrated.
Uh, and like I said, it's something that I've heard a lot around here. I don't particularly use it myself, but I think I'm going to. Uh, I read that, and then just not long after that, that license plate thing. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on with people in this country?
As people are chatting on YouTube sites, let me address some of those. Johnson saying thanks for the tag. That's how we figured out we were here. Yeah, I posted on Instagram and tagged all the early watches. We're going to go look at that later because there's a shit ton. It's pretty cool. And he also says Bugs Bunny said it all the time, and that's what that article said too, that Bugs Bunny wasn't the beginning of it, but he said it all the damn time. All the cotton picking time.
Well, you can't hardly find Bugs Bunny on TV anymore. Too violent.
Well, think it the way that we've historically done it is like, let's say I started to use the term cowboy as a derogatory term, calling people cowboys, but in a, like as a derogatory term, and that caught on. And then next thing you know, like it's not politically correct to call someone a cowboy, and it's it's basically becomes like a swear word, right? And we have so many words that are already like that have just that after like like their original meaning and purpose wasn't a bad thing, but then other people started using those words as a bad thing, and then so they became a bad thing, right? Like that's
Well, yeah,
that's
but
historically.
that's how everything evolves. I mean, there's people back in the day that'd be all upset if you called them a cowboy, and then 17 years later, nobody gives a shit if you call them a cowboy.
Right.
I mean, that could be a regional thing. That can, some things that influence that.
That's kind of regional. I worked for a trailer dealer, so cowboy was something that parents called their kids a lot. Cowboy or cowgirl.
But I can imagine a time when like cities were getting boardwalks and like people were, like proud of the fact that they got a suit or something, or all their clothes were suits now and they didn't have to walk in the mud. And somebody's like, "Hey, cowboy," you're like, "Arr!" Like I'm fucking trying hard not to be a cowboy. That's an insult to me. And then, like I say, 17 years later, it's like, yeah, call me cowboy. What the fuck do I care?
I have heard of the term being used in a derogatory manner. I think it was kind of people that were doing shit without really thinking about it. Like somebody's out there driving like an idiot, people refer to him as cowboy. And I never understood that one neither.
Wild. I think when it's involved something wild or reckless, yeah, I've definitely heard cowboy used in reference to that.
You guys ever heard anything called squaw? Or I don't think you ever heard people called squaw anymore, but you ever heard of like something with the name of squaw?
Not in a long time.
Well, I hear it now and again because I watch a lot of old westerns, but other than that, no.
You know what squaw means?
Yeah, it's basically like a teenage girl. Like it's a young girl, right?
No. Basically, super offensive. It's like calling her a cunt or bitch or something. It's like not cool, and they were using it because they didn't give a shit back in the day.
I thought it was just a Native American woman like that that would marry like a white man, or like it was just like that's what the white men called the Native American, like the younger Native American women were like squaws.
Yeah, just like saying, hey, look at all them whores over there. They've changed many names out here. I happen to just know that one.
So that's one that may have like started off being offensive, and then like it's not like offensive any longer.
No,
Okay.
I'm certain that it started to be offensive, and then people forgot that it was offensive and just said, "Oh, squaw, that's big." And then grandma knew what it meant, right? And then grandkid is like, "Hey, grandma, why is this called Squaw Peak?" Oh, because that's an Indian princess's name. You know what I mean? She's trying to like, yeah, let's not worry about what my grandpa named this because of, because he got 3 of his kids shot by the fucking Apaches or whatever. You know what I mean? So then it went to like just be like, oh, in the Brady Bunch, it's like blah blah blah. We're gonna use the word squaw. And back then, I guess if you knew what the word meant, you weren't gonna be like, hey, Brady Bunch, quit saying that. You know. Now we got the internet. Now everybody can say like, hey, what the fuck? Offensive ass word, and you got it all over everything. That's less cultural as much as like language, though. I mean, that's just people didn't know what the languages meant. Who knows what we're saying in other languages when we say stuff here? When we're asking for a burrito or something.
I don't know. I don't get the offense in a lot of this shit that's not offensive. I mean, it should never ever be the fucking word. It should be the meaning of the word. Or the intent. If I say, you out of your cotton picking mind, you could rewrite that to say, are you out of your motherfucking mind? Same thing. To me. Just a little bit more.
I don't know. When somebody's got to dig up a very rarely used thing and make a big deal out of it, you know what I mean? That's a little different than like, I don't know, something that gets used more than like rarely. I can't remember last time, unless we're talking about it like this, where I would have even heard somebody.
Or something that can literally have a different meaning just based on the person that's using it from their experience in their past, right? So cotton picking really could mean something different to many different people, like in the way they use it and the way that they're thinking about it. Like, and many words can be like that just based off your history and experience, just like how the same word can mean many different things just where you're at. Right?
If you got to take all the possible definitions of a word and like a very small slice of that pie is racially or somehow derogatory, then you don't get to take the word away from the 98% of the people that are just using it as a word, right? Where if 90% of the time the word is used to piss people off, then it's a little tougher to say like, well, I'm just using it the 10% of the time. Even though it's mostly pisses people off, I insist on using this word. I mean, that's a little different. I sent Dano memes to DGS. Okay. Oh, Dano memes. Right. Well, now we got dead air.
Sorry. Give me a minute. I'm putting out fire.
So what's the last movie you watched, Tony? The last cowboy movie? Or G-Webs? What's the last cowboy movie you watched?
Real cowboy movie? I don't know. Probably Angel and the Bad Man.
Which one? The good one or the new one?
John Wayne. I don't know.
Okay. Have you seen the new one? What's his face?
I tried to, but Lou Diamond Phillips ain't attached to John Wayne.
Dude, it is the shittiest remake. That is a really, really cool movie. You know what I mean? Well, you know. But the new one is really poor. Like, just does a horrible job. It's like somebody. Huh?
I said, I think the John Wayne one is my favorite movie, period.
Really? I don't know if I go that far. It is pretty awesome.
Well, it changes because of how much I watch other stuff.
What about Searchers? I really like Searchers. And I really like She Wore a Yellow Ribbon and that little series with when he's a cavalry dude.
That's what I was going to say. What's in my DVD player right now is Fort Apache.
Yeah, I really like those because I kind of live out here too. Although every time you see anything in those movies, it's up at Four Corners. So they didn't really care about being historically accurate too much. They keep acting like they're down here.
Cool.
Huh?
I said, that's because Monument Valley is cool.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody thinks Tucson looks like Monument Valley. That's what Utah looks like. But actually, that's what southern Utah looks like.
I don't know. I still like the Cowboys. That's still one of my favorite all-time movies. Like that was one of his later ones, and I know it's not like as highly regarded as some of his old ones, but I really like that. I thought that movie was really, really well done.
We should steal the bracket thing. I don't know if that would be better with a bracket or a top 5, but try to do just a John Wayne movie thing. Because it'd be tough to put up some of his movies against each other because they're like good movies in their own realm.
Oh, God, yeah. And, you know, and then we have like what he did war movies and then cowboy movies. And even as like detective, like cop movies had like, you know, so.
Most of those.
He did comedies. He was funny once in a while.
Yeah, that's true.
And then there's detective.
The older he got, the more he was willing to poke fun at himself.
Yeah. Whenever I started watching John Wayne movies, this was back probably in the Blockbuster days when I could, you know, you could get like, you had like a wish list and then they would send you them as they became available on DVD. So I started watching them back then and I found a list of, pretty sure it was 176. Got to remember where the hell I had it because it has been deleted since over the years or whatever. But I basically started a web page with all 176 video. It was all his movies and his appearances. That's how it got to 176. So like if he was on the Lucy show, that was in there. If he did like you know, if they said this is the John Wayne guest appearance or something, like that kind of show was on there. But pretty tough to see them all because a bunch of them are like you're saying, just kind of, well, I mean, they're funny things because he's like doing a TV show, like, and he's John Wayne. It's like him making fun of the John Wayne, what do you call that? Persona, I guess, the cowboy guy.
Yep, John Wayne. I mean, not many actors evoke that image of America that John Wayne does. And I hope that continues, although I'd say the farther away we get from his life, the less he'll be relevant. He made a shit ton of movies. I've seen it pegged at over 200. A lot of that shit was Saturday matinee crap and stuff like that, which I have a bunch of them.
Yeah, on Amazon, there was a bunch, the black and white ones from back in the day. And I don't know if they made them like every Saturday, they'd make a new one or something, but there was a ton of those. And I would say out of 3/4 of them, he's a federal agent. And you don't even have to watch the damn movie. At least there's no point in watching the plot because you know he's going to eventually be a fucking federal agent. Like, you know, it's always a cowboy thing. Like, oh, some guy's stealing sheep or some guy's being mean to Indians or whatever the fuck it is. And then it's like, oh, I wish there was some government agent that would come. And oh, what do you know? He's a government agent.
That is the whole thing throughout the 30s. He did a bunch of them bastards where they were all almost the same damn movie over and over again with different women.
Yeah, like subtly different plots, but because they're all black and white and they all kind of like do 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 do, like they all kind of seem like you're watching the same movie. That's why I needed the checklist to make sure I had seen, and I couldn't remember for the life of me, except that they're always federal agent in them. They always have some kind of house, right? And he has to go to it.
I'll tell you one thing. Like with I'm thankful with today's technology because we can get on the internet and we can go back and we can find all sorts of awesome John Wayne interviews and stuff like that that might like were long before we might have even have been born, right? And some of them are just like audio recorded, like radio interviews, and some of them are television interviews. And when you actually listen to what the guy, like just him, like him himself, how he talks, like not watching him in a movie, but just watching John Wayne, right? And just do his thing and just talking about himself and the things he believes in and stuff like that. Like that guy would be just as hated as Donald Trump is today by the left and stuff, because I mean he was very opinionated and very straightforward, and he didn't hold back any punches, and he said what was on his mind. And
I'll play this one that you linked here. It's 2 minutes or whatever. We'll probably get copyrighted, but let's play it.
His patriotism has never wavered, but today he's a little disillusioned with modern America.
We're being represented by men who are kowtowing to minorities where they can get votes. And I think it's bad for our country. And I am sad to see minorities make so much of themselves as a hyphenated American. I wish they'd all get to thinking that they're Americans as they should, and as they have luckily been born here and couldn't be better off in any other place. There shouldn't be so much whining and bellying.
In the late 60s and early 70s, there was a period of considerable change. Civil rights for blacks, equal rights for women. Has this made America a better place?
I am saddened by the fact that although we were a matriarchy, I think we will not be any longer. I think opening doors and tipping your hat to ladies is probably a thing of the past. The forerunners of the women's liberation of today have taken that feeling away from the average American man.
But what about the civil rights? I mean, it's necessary.
What about the civil rights?
Well, we have 20 million blacks on this continent.
Right.
It was necessary to extend rights so that perhaps for the first 199 years were denied them in this free America.
I guess that they've had a pretty tough break, but not quite as bad as you and your do-gooder friends would have them believe. They live as well here as they live in any other country over that 199 years. True, I think they do have a right to more rights, but it isn't a thing where the rest of the country should feel terribly guilty about anything because they have had a better life here and their fathers and mothers than they would have had any place else. And I want to see them have everything. I don't squawk and cry baby and say, geez, I had to go without meals when I was 16 and 17 years old. It's a terrible thing. I don't think that you should look back and whine and bellyache or try to hold somebody else guilty for everything you did.
Tell me that would not just freak, like if he was alive today, like Hollywood just would not freak the fuck out.
Oh shit, if you go to his Playboy interview, and I think it was 71, he says that he doesn't think that black people are educated enough to be political. And they shouldn't have that. They shouldn't have to be able to get into office until they're educated enough to be there.
Well, that's fucked, because that's not the way the country works at all. You'd be represented by people that are similar to yourself, and if your fucking whole area is not educated, then you certainly want somebody in there who's similar to you.
I don't particularly agree with that either, but he was a.
Was he really referring to that, or was he kind of referring to like a quota hire thing? About how, because I heard something about that interview about how it got kind of taken out of context And he wasn't against them being in office, but he was against them being hired just because of the color of their skin. I think the quota hire thing, that issue, I think that's what he was trying to get to. And I think that I remember reading that whole thing got kind of taken out of context, and you know.
It's possible. I don't know.
Because even back then, she called the guy. What did he call him? Whatever, he gave the guy a kind of a jab there, and he said like, you, whatever, you're, what did he call him? He'd call him like
do good or
whatever. So what I'm saying, like, he knows that that's an adversarial interview. So who knows how that guy edited it? Even though it's a long time ago, that guy was creative in his editing to make him look however he wanted. When he started out saying cater to minorities for the votes, I mean, right off the bat, I just never heard of John Wayne being a massive racist. So I don't know if minorities means the same thing as we got minorities today, or the way that we think of the word minorities meaning only or predominantly racial. He might have meant freaking communist, because that was a different time. I don't know what he meant.
Oh, no.
Or did he mean illegals?
He definitely did.
He meant minorities. Blacks mostly, because that was the tail basically of the big civil rights movement.
But minorities? I don't know.
Well, he's out west where there's more
maybe, Mexican and Asian influence.
There's more variety minorities there than like here in the Midwest. Very rarely do we see there's not that many Japanese descendant, Chinese, not even a whole hell of a lot of like the Spanish speaking contingent there around here. But I don't know that the man was actually racist. I don't think so. I think he was just ticked off at what he saw as political favoritism and pandering to get votes. But communist, oh shit, he was fucking ardent anti-communist. He was.
Well, that's what I mean. He was, and that's where I'm wondering if he didn't mean like that kind of thing, like political minority, like.
No.
Okay.
I'm sure that he didn't. He was one that said, basically, if you're a communist, get the fuck out of this country. He,
Yeah, but see, okay, listen, I remember reading a thing, okay, and I'm sure you can Google it, but it said that that whole interview, right, was like done by a communist, like sympathizer or something, and that like they either edited or like left things out, right, or changed the initial question they asked him, and then put his response to something with a different question and stuff like that. And I think he got really pissed about that. Might have even have sued them or something. And that, but like he was like kind of like whole set up for that whole fucking thing, dude. So I don't believe anything from that Playboy interview, because like I read that whole thing was like set up and taken out of context and all that kind of stuff just to make him look bad. Because the whole thing was like done by like some communist sympathizer.
well, I'll tell you, as far as John Wayne as a person goes, he went to one of the big colleges. They invited him there so they could hack on him because he's a conservative. And they said by the time he left them, people gave him a standing ovation because he was so sharp and so personable. I can't remember. I think it was something Harvard, but John Wayne wasn't stupid, but they're taking conversations that happen when our language is different, and trying to apply today's standards to them.
Our entire society and culture was different too, and that guy came from a different time. From like that guy was around during the 30s, 40s, 50s. Like I mean, so even taking his conversation in the 70s or you know, early 80s or something, that's like, I mean, it just from where the guy came from. You know, I mean, just way different. Because when you grow up in the 30s and stuff, yeah, like you're going to have a lot different speech and stuff, and words are going to mean different things, even when you're in 1970 or 1980, right, than what they do today.
So that's what a lot of people, especially on the far left, don't understand is that growing up, like, take the word nigger, it wasn't a bad word here. It wasn't a slur. It was just a fucking descriptor. It wasn't intended to be racial or anything like that. It was just the way that my grandparents talked. I realized that it is what it is now. But, you know, people don't realize how hard it is to get past a lifetime of speaking a certain way, especially when you're not trying to be offensive.
Well, and that's part of the problem that we have as a species evolving, right? Because you're right. Like, look at what is it? I was just listening to Tom Sawyer or whatever, the audiobook the other day. You know, and they use it all the time. It's controversial in school because they use it because it was just words at the time, and whatever. But you know, like you say, things change or what. But so people are driving around and you know in a car or whatever, and they go into a town, and you know you're from an area where that's not used, and you go to an area where it is used, and you think, oh shit, these people are massive racists or whatever. You drive away and you think that's a massive racist town, and I'm telling everybody for the rest of the time how much of a racist town it is. And that was your only experience with it. Now that town's going to be painted as racist, and you know, I mean, it takes time for that to, you know, feather out into the world and everything. And now that we got the internet, it's a lot faster for that kind of stuff to happen. So I don't know. We'll see this stuff probably happen a lot quicker. Maybe that's why we're seeing it, perceiving it more, because we're seeing it happen quicker and quicker.
I still don't get the whole cotton picking thing, though. I mean, that was one that I don't think was ever intended to be racist.
Well, it was more or less a job description, kind of, right? That's like calling someone a plumber, or, you know, I mean, I don't know. I guess, you know, like being in the trade industry, I've been, right. Like we have like terminologies for different contractors and stuff like that. So we used to joke around with the plumbers and stuff and call them the shit pipers. Right? Like, but it wasn't really derogatory. Like, we weren't like angry at the people. We didn't hate the plumbers or nothing. Like, it was just that's what we did, right? Like, I mean, that was just a thing.
I did give DB a link. I don't know why he didn't come in, but I did give him a link. Yeah, in my profession, it was real common to be referred to as a grease monkey. I'm sure that that's going to fall down to being racist eventually. I don't have any idea the origin of the term.
Which one again?
Grease monkey for mechanic.
Oh.
Yeah, we used to call electricians Sparky. Like, every electrician's name was Sparky. Like, if like an electrician came to a job site and like was gonna wire something up for us or whatever, like I didn't know the guy's name or whatever, we'd call him Sparky. Hey, Sparky, up here on the roof. You know, the ladder's around back. Like, we'd be up on the roof working or something. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, we just yell out onto the street like, "Hey, Sparky," you know, stuff like that. I mean, like, that was just like, yeah, like, I mean, like it wasn't derogatory. Like,
so it dates back to at least 1928. It may have originated during the Industrial Revolution in Great Britain, where children were used to grease the large rotating axles, which were used to transfer power from one centralized steam engine to all the machines on the factory floor. So the kid with the grease, call him a grease monkey. Probably because he had to climb up on shit, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, that's what it says on the internet.
I'm sure that that'll be claimed as racist eventually. I don't know. I have a few black friends. I was in a band with a guy, uh, and I talked to him plus a couple of East St. Louis retired police officers, and they said, you know, they were of the mind that all of this shit's stupid. Uh, Randy, who's the one I was in the band with, he said, I don't even care if you call me nigger as long as you don't mean it in the way that, you know, some do. So, well, I ain't gonna do that. He said, this shit's ridiculous. And, you know, if he was talking about the whole inward thing being ridiculous, what the fuck's he think about the damn cotton picking hands or cotton picking whatever the fuck? I mean, sometimes I think people that are getting this shit out are fucking insane. I didn't realize that the hyphenated American thing was big back in John Wayne.
Oh yeah.
Era. I thought that was fairly recent, you know, like 80s.
That actually goes all the way back to before Wayne to I think the first time I've heard it is like one of the guys in the Rat Pack said it. I think it was Sammy Davis Jr.
That interview was in color and it was on video, so I'm thinking it was in the 80s.
Not with John Wayne. He died in 79.
Oh, okay. Then no. Then probably not.
That would have been about 71, looking at his age. Oh, no. John Wayne died June 11th, 1979.
Okay, so that was not necessarily like the day before he died either. He'd seem pretty spry in that one.
Oh, yeah. John Wayne, when he died, he was frail. He's like 120 pounds.
Well, that's depressing. I had no idea he was a massive racist.
Yeah, ain't that the shits? I've only heard him touch on racism once, and he said he told a guy in the, I think it's Cahill, movie Cahill, I ain't got a bigoted bone in my body. I'll shoot you just as quick as I would a white man. Oh, shit. I don't know, man. You look at TV and you swear to God people are out of their fucking minds.
Don't watch TV. So instead, let's go over to Gun Channels and take a look at what's been happening over there. All kinds of neat stuff that I've been working on. I'm sure other people have too. So,
I'd
Angela,
like to touch on one when you get to it.
okay. Angelina had a chat last night that ran all night. When we ended that one and started this one. Knives had a chat running all night also. Looks like Crazy Scotsman finally signed up for Gun Channels. Good to see he's over here. He's been chatting with everybody in the evening chats, it looks like, for quite a while, actually. Let's see. We did a sort of a video project, I guess, last night in Matt's chat. I played around with making a video of Angry's icon. And so I just used screen capture to record the process of it, and then used another video editing software to speed it all up 2,000 times, so that that hour worth of playing around turns into 4 minutes worth of sped up, drawing. So basically, we redid his whatever you call, like, little angry platypus little logo thingy, but it was carrying this kind of weak AR-15, and we rebuilt it. See, it had this like kind of dumb looking AR-15 in the drawing. He wanted a Stinger, so I grabbed a Stinger missile and drew that thing up, and then we ended up just kind of sticking it in his hand. I had to screw with the Stinger just a little bit, And then since he's out here in Arizona, threw a Arizona flag behind him, and just been playing around with this. And it was Angry's video, so I asked him what song, and we put this Dean Martin song on there. Click on playing around with tech and having fun with the people over on Gun Channel, so check that out. I also did another one, I forget which one I did. Getting late for me. Matt did his chat yesterday, and I think it was heist movies. So it wasn't one I had much interest in. I don't really watch those movies too much. Clover had a chat. I think that one lasted well into Matt's chat. Yoder's been posting some big Zamek guns, some Lorsons. Other chat from Knives, doing the live lobby. Got a couple of quotes in here from Patriot in the Dark. Government is like a baby. It's I don't know how to say that word, but it's basically an umbilical canal with an appetite at one end and no sense of responsibility at the other. Kind of interesting way of looking at it. Another one is, if a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be. So, asking for it all, I guess. You want your cake and eat it too. Is this the one you wanted to talk about, the ammo question?
Yes.
So you answered this one here. So I guess Yoder's saying, I have a question. I was just looking back at my box of Remington 9mm jacketed hollow point. It says HTP is also loaded with soft point, lead hollow point, and semi-jacketed hollow point. When would you choose to use the other bullet types instead of jacketed hollow point?
And I answered the question sort of, but I want to get other people's answers, because my answer was based on hunting more than anything. You choose soft point lead for hunting for a little bit less expansion than a hollow point.
And still being able to break through something like a thick shoulder bone or something like that, and penetrate far enough into vital organs. And
yeah, exactly. But this is 9mm, man.
Right. So unless you're just shooting mice or maybe insects, then not nine.
Well, it's it's known to, I don't know. I personally think it's more accurate than Full Metal Jacket. A properly casted, really good, pure lead projectile. I think personally, from my experience, can be more accurate out of a handgun than a jacketed bullet.
So let's break it down. Remington is the name of the company that manufactures the ammo. What's HTP? That's the model of the ammo or whatever, or the line. But do you know what HTP is?
Probably not.
High terminal performance?
I bet you it's performance. That's what I was thinking too, but it's going to sound, oh yeah, high terminal performance. Well done. So that's their model of it, and 9mm is the specific caliber we're talking about. So he bought it in jacketed hollow point. So a lead core with jacket all around, and then a hollow point in the tip. But it says that that type of ammo is also loaded with the soft point, which would be basically a brass, or I guess a copper cup that's sort of filled with lead, and then the projectile, everything that sticks out from the front, pretty much of the cartridge, is going to be lead, right? So maybe there's a little bit of a copper and then some lead up front. Then they have a lead hollow point, which is going to have it's just a lead projectile, no copper at all on the projectile. And then a semi-jacketed hollow point. Is this a picture of them all? So we can just look at the damn picture. So yeah, so then we got your soft point, which is, like I was saying, like this, what do they call this? Is it canalure? This little groove?
Yes.
Yep, that's a canalure. That's where you crimp your case onto.
So basically the case in this is the projectile. The case would come up and end where this little notch is, and that's so that you can crimp the case into there and it stays. And now with all the recoil and abuse that 9mm go through, it doesn't shift and cause a problem with feeding or anything. It also doesn't compress on your powder, which would be bad. So then you got your lead hollow point, which is just like I said, a completely open projectile. And then the semi-jacketed, I don't know what the big deal is between semi-jacketed and lead, or I mean soft point, because they almost look the same. So I'm guessing it has to do with the hardness of this lead versus this lead, because I call it soft point. And then this is just semi-jacketed, so you still have a hardened piece of lead, I'm guessing, more zinc or something in it.
Well, it's not going to fragment as much. That's going to expand more than the soft point and dump its energy faster. And in my opinion, the semi-jacketed hollow point's a better self-defense round.
Okay, so soft point is solid lead. That's the big difference. It's got a jacket around it, but it's a slug of lead, where this is a lead slug with a big ass hole in it as a hollow point. I just missed that in the picture. This is flat here, and this is solid. It's got more mass probably.
Yeah. So
if you look at the jacket on that semi-hollow or that hollow point, it's designed to tear out like flower petals.
To pedal.
Right. It's designed in such a way that when it hits, it encourages. Oh snap! Somebody.
Hey, there we go. That's the first time.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. Whoever did that is very much appreciated. So, but this is engineered to, like you're saying, butterfly or mushroom, I guess, in a way that gives it more
expansion.
Yeah,
you don't have to, and you're not going to have to worry about over penetration as much. It's going to dump its energy a little sooner.
Yeah, it loses its energy into the act of expanding, so it loses its energy, and it's losing its energy in meat. So you're causing damage, and ideally you're causing enough vascular damage. You're opening up blood vessels that number one, they get hit by something that hurts, and then two, they start losing blood, and that causes a mammal to drop, to fall down, and depending on how much blood they lose, they ain't getting up very quick at all. Nothing else, they are out of the fight with a shot or two if it can be effective. If it goes straight through them, very little blood is lost, and they're continuing to be aggressive or do whatever it is that needed lethal force. So his question is, when would you choose the other bullet styles? I think lead would be when you're practicing because it's cheaper, right?
It also, if you're using steel, it's much safer to use on steel than a jacketed bullet.
Well, that's
Very true.
I've been shot twice myself from Glock at SHOT Show, minding my own business. And one of them is on video. I'm sitting there talking to the Haas USMC, some other bay next door. You hear ding, 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 and then I got a freaking chunk of copper jacket in my neck. So got shot by Glock once by copper jacket, and then another year I shot sitting there minding my business in the Glock thing, and then get shot by another piece of the stuff. So that's an excellent point. This just either disintegrates into nothing, it like vaporizes, or just falls into a piece of molten quarter looking thing on the ground, where this stuff is flying out in all directions is like jagged razor blades. Soft point, you guys already mentioned the advantages of having something that doesn't lose all its energy and has more mass and is able to penetrate into something that's huge, bigger. So winter, normal sized people, non-Europe.
Maybe you live in an area where your carry self-defense gun, you don't always have to worry about carrying for self-defense from necessarily a person. Sometimes you might have to worry about also an animal, right, or something. So you might need something that has that better penetration to pierce a thicker hide and hit internal organs that are much deeper than what they usually are in a human body.
If I'm going out there where something can eat me, I fucking ain't taking a 9mm.
Well, no, most people aren't, but like you could easily be in an area where, like that time of year, it could be just clothing where you live, right? Like, depending on where you live, a lot of people might be very, very bundled up and stuff like that. There's different. I can see a lot of reasons where you might want penetration more than expansion.
Yeah, you're right. I was just being an ass.
And then for the lead hollow point, I think the lead hollow point's just a massively effective bullet. Like just a pure lead projectile, I don't know they can cause this. You know, they can ruin a lot of meat. You know, so I wouldn't use that for any kind of hunting or anything. But you know, it can be massively effective for self-defense type situation. But then you got a lot of side effects of that, like gun cleaning, like cleaning the lead out of the bore of your guns, and you know, you're going to get a lot more lead fouling than you will copper fouling in your barrel.
I up a lot like a Keith wad cutter too.
Yep, some of the most accurate bullets ever made.
The lead hollow point you're talking about, or the soft point?
Yes, the lead hollow point.
The lead.
It's that stepped wad cutter where it's kind of whatever.
Yeah, it's semi-wide cutter is what it would be, but
but without mass. I guess.
It looks like that Elmer Keith bullet from the picture.
All right, we passed this one, but played around with Ellis the other night and made him a action figure. So hopefully with more people helping out like that with the purchase over at the Gear website store, open up more time, and I'll be doing more of those because I was thinking it'd be kind of cool to have a series of those. Maybe get Angelina to turn them into stickers or something. I don't know. That would work. So that was that one. Anybody wants to chime in on that, feel free. There's plenty of place to comment on it here. If it gives you an idea to do a video on it, do so. Knives early chat yesterday, and Patriot was saying congratulations to the people who figured out the Guess Who. So for a week there, they'd been letting people guess on who the blind shooter was on Midnight's chat last Sunday, or 2 Sundays ago, and it was Patriot. So it's pretty cool that he's willing to share that aspect of his personal situation there and give that insight to people who are literally blind. Because I've known plenty of low vision shooters, I guess. You know, people that have all kinds of difficulties and levels of sight, but I've only known a couple who are completely without sight. So pretty cool to be sharing that. And obviously a valued member of Gun Channels, participates a lot. And now he's sharing even more. So that's awesome. I'm guessing he might have...
He's actually blind?
Yes. All black. And that's recent, not his whole life. So great insight. And he wasn't a shooter. In fact, if you listen to the one, not this Sunday, but the Sunday before, where he was kind of talking about his experiences and whatnot, he wasn't much of a shooter before. He bought his first 1911 after he'd lost his sight in an effort to master the machine, taking it apart and putting it back together. And then after he had done that, he decided to start shooting it. So he didn't buy it with the intent to shoot it. So that's, I think, another interesting thing, that too many people are willing to accept that all firearms are weapons designed to kill. That's just bullshit. There's all kinds of reasons people might want to own a piece of property, especially such an interesting piece of property as a 1911. So all kinds of neat stuff coming from Patriot. Again, that's why we built Gun Channel. So thanks for keeping us going, literally, in lots of different ways. Travis talked about mounting something to that PS90. I'm guessing Tony doesn't like PS90s. We ever talked about this?
I don't even know what the hell PS90 is.
The FN little PDW, personal defense weapon, this thing here on the screen that shoots the 5.7 with like a 50 round magazine that they go from, like, they do a 90 degree. They go from like stacked horizontally here to dropping vertically into the chamber. And it's a bullpup. So it's a crazy little kind of, never shot one? They're like,
no.
Oh, I thought maybe at a range or something. They're really neat because it's such a little round. It's basically a scaled down. If you look at a 50 BMG and then you look at a 30-06 or a 30-30, no, 308. No. You take a 50 BMG and a 30-06 and a 223 and then a 5.7, and it's the same bullet at different scale. Like, it's the same proportions. Yep. Right? It's the same thing. So it's, I don't know if they did that intentionally or if it's just an optical thing that our eyes do, but that it's exactly like a little progression if you making a little visual aid or whatever. So it's a tiny little necked .223. That's this. It's what is it? 17 caliber or something tiny. It's
5.7 millimeter.
yeah, and what's a 5.56 is 5.56. So it's
Yeah.
a tiny little bullet, but a tiny little cartridge behind it, and they're kind of dumb, but they're designed to kind of replace a rifle and a pistol for mostly, from what I understood, people that are going through turrets or like little tiny holes in submarines and shit, where if you want something that's more effective at some range than a pistol and more capacity than a pistol, but not a rifle. So it's something that you can kind of just wear on your chest, I guess. So again, going through turrets or through portals and trapdoors and shit, those kind of occupations. And they made the 5.7 pistol. Have you ever shot one of those?
No.
Okay, that's a neat pistol. It feels like an empty squirt gun. It's all plastic and just nothing. There's no weight to it. And with a full magazine, a 30-round magazine, it still has almost no weight to it. It's huge in your hand because it's like shooting a 22 Magnum pistol. And it's really big grip, but there's no weight. Somehow it's like, you know, if you ever held a bird, somehow there's like all this mass and no weight to it. Somehow uses bird tech to make it weigh nothing. And it's just a fun little gun to shoot. There's no recoil. It's a tiny little bullet. There's all kinds of debate on if it's effective or not. But anyway, Travis is mounting lasers to it, I guess. And,
It's coming out of a 16-inch barrel. I mean, those you can get over 3,000 feet per second with that 5.7 out of a 16-inch barrel. So, and at 3,000 feet per second, that tiny little projectile just fragments like not like I heard that it's pretty devastating. I'm not sure about the pistol, but out of the P90, it's supposed to be pretty devastating. That little round.
Well, I can tell you, a little bullet going fast is really impressive.
It is. It's really impressive. Like I saw things on this gun and that round where ballistic NATO helmets that were able to like shrug off like 308 at like 300 meters. That little 5.7 bullet would poke through it. So like so at 300 meters. So like the ballistic NATO helmets that the NATO troops wear. So I thought that was pretty impressive.
this one's a PS90, which is semi-auto civilian version. A real one, and the barrel ends right here at the end of this thing. It's a bullpup, so the action or the chamber is back here, but this one, like you said, a 16-inch barrel. So I'm guessing it's like an 8-inch barrel or something when you chop it, or when it's just the normal configuration. And of course, the real ones are full auto. Again, this is a 50-round magazine. It's a double stack 50-round magazine, and they go from like kind of perpendicular to the bore here to doing a 90 and dropping into the chamber, and then they eject out of a hole back here behind this little section in your by your cheek, basically, because it's bullpup. So whenever
that magazine configuration looks like the gun they used on later episodes of Stargate.
This is exactly the gun from Stargate, yeah. So when they first came out, it was in Stargate, and it looked cool because it was so goofy looking and weird. It looked like a freaking Stargate gun, right? And whenever I first saw the videos of it, I was impressed because it has no recoil and everything, and it's a decent sized barrel, even in a little small configuration like this, that they were shooting at full auto. I don't know what distance, it really doesn't matter, but at full auto into the size of like a postage stamp, which is just crazy, you know, to like see somebody drop a 50-round mag, and the thing is just like at a freaking one of those shooting galleries, you know, with the stream of BBs into a piece of paper. So I've shot them a few times, and the gun is huge for some reason. It's really big, probably doesn't need to be, but it's very ergonomic. So even though it's kind of a weird hold, it's a super well-made gun. So it's super easy to hold it, and I can just see that you can, you know, if you were familiar with this gun, you could probably just use it like a paintbrush. It's a really neat kind of gun. And then 50-round mag, so you could carry hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rounds with you. I talked a lot about a P90. We had an awesome van chat the other night. Epic van chat. Thanks everybody for joining in on that. Wish they were all that awesome. Posted that up on iTunes. So thanks for your participation there. Midnight did the unveiling, so to speak, of Patriot. So that was that night. And there's this posting of it. Knives did a Sunday night chat, kind of out of the ordinary for knives. This one was kind of neat. Gun Gals did a video. I did one like this back in the olden days, and they talk about a lot of stuff in here, but walked around with their camera in this kind of dim parking lot and did some like scenario type, good idea, bad idea type of stuff. And I think this, I mean, like say we did this back in the day too. This is the kind of stuff that it's all about. Like let people, if you got an idea to get across, take your phone and go do it. It doesn't have to be a big production number with actors and a script and everything. Just go get the point across so that you can start a conversation or, clear up a point or something. I don't know. Do you guys get these little messages when new members pop up, or is that because I'm an admin?
I don't. No.
I don't think so.
Like when Scotsman signed up, I got that thing up here. Okay, so maybe I'm getting that because I'm an admin, but there have been quite a few people joining gun channels. I've been posting some like walkthroughs and some just kind of like welcome to gun channels, here's stuff to do kind of videos. So I encourage people to let people know. We're not trying to grow gun channels into the next Facebook or some replacement for YouTube. Really want it to just grow strategically or grow with intent. Bringing people over that are interested in Second Amendment advocacy and creating content, and not just content for the sake of making more stuff on the internet or making a few bucks. But so anyway, if you know people who are out there that are creating cool content, we really do appreciate the people that kind of our ambassadors gun channel and ask them to come over. We've had some really good additions to the team over here. And again, it's done through mouth to mouth or whatever you want to call, like, that's the right word. I'm getting tired again. But I really appreciate the people that are inviting people over. We've gotten really good people joining lately. Moon posted a chat. I think I'm into the weekend at this point. Come and talk it.
Yeah, that's Sunday.
Star Trek thing. Oh, that's Sunday afternoon. Yeah. Yesterday I was here at like 4 o'clock and I was trying to stay awake, and I just couldn't do it. And I was just crashing so hard. I was sitting here and I thought, oh, I'm just going to lean back. And the next thing I know, I was just passed out and I was just feeling like I was walking through syrup. So I didn't even leave you a message or nothing. I just turned off the machines and slept. So hopefully I didn't, I don't know if you showed up yesterday or not, but sorry to leave you hanging if you did.
It's cool. I told him Friday that Mondays and Tuesdays were iffy for us.
Well, and that's one of the reasons I made that decision, just crash, because I was like, all right, well, there's a 50-50 chance Tony ain't even showing up. But I figured if you weren't already there that early, that anyway. So I apologize if you did show up.
I was here for 45 minutes or so, but it ain't no big deal. No need to apologize.
Oh. Anyway, so got some stuff over on the 24/7 Gun Show. I'm the only one using it right now. There are some other auctions up there, but not very many people are using it. You're not going to hurt my feelings. If it's not something we need, then there are some issues with it, and it does cost some time to run it over there. But I'm certainly interested in having it up there if people want to use it. So if you're interested in it, now's the time to throw some stuff up there. And I'm not the only one. I can sell my stuff on eBay. I don't need to put it up on here. I thought it would be a neat way to save us all a couple of bucks, because eBay does charge a cut and a fee to post up there. But like I say, it's just a bit of a nuisance, and there's enough other oars in the water. I don't need to create another task that I have to work on every once in a while. So throw that out there. But one of the things we'll do on Early Watch or on the Daily Gun Show as well is dig in and help promote the stuff that's listed over here. So if you are posting stuff, we'll keep an eye on it. I think I'm done with stuff. Did you have more of the articles to talk about?
I'm looking at it right now. Nope. I only had the 2 this morning, but I may have had some in the past, but it don't look like it. I think I've covered everything that I want to cover. I do want to touch on something though. Evidently, the other day when I was talking about reloading, I mentioned a load, and I don't remember doing it. I didn't intend to, but somebody emailed me and asked me about putting 25 grains of 296 in 44 special. If I said that, please be aware that I'm running that in 44 Magnum. And you should not ever attempt that in a 44 special gun because it'll blow the motherfucker to bits, most likely. I did personally email the person who asked the question back and told him, no, don't do that. I haven't done it. I was just thinking about it, how far you could push 44 special. But I'm using a Ruger handgun, so, and I broke one of them, so don't do it.
That's why everyone who reloads should have a certified reloading book from one of the major, companies out there. Like pretty much all like the major companies out there, like Lee or Hornady or, whoever, they all have their books, right? So, because things can be misinterpreted or misunderstood or just, all sorts, too much stuff can happen. I think necessarily type on the internet how many grains for this bullet or this caliber, and then just to go with that answer, right? So I really like to look up in my little reloading book and double check everything.
I use the Ogden load data online most of the time.
Or yeah, that's a great resource. Even something online, right? Yeah.
But I also own numerous reloading manuals, and I suggest people buy the Lyman and Lee's both. And not so much for the reloading tables, but for the information those two books contain before they start giving data.
Especially the Lee book, because that's what I have, so I know exactly what you're talking about. It goes into a lot of prep and like a lot of stuff.
Lyman's has that too, but it's different. So buying both of them isn't a waste. But yeah, Richard Lee's Modern Reloading is.
That's what I have. Is that book, the second edition?
Right. That's a book I would not do without. And the Lyman the same way, because for one thing, the online site doesn't cover near as much data as the books. I mean, when you look up a load on Ogden's site, they'll give you a couple of different options for each powder, maybe even just one. And the books give you many more. And of course, Ogden's site is only Ogden products, so it's you get either Ogden, IMR, or Winchester powder as your choice, which I use those, so that's fine.
And right now, you could go over to gunchannels.com and you can click on the little Brownells picture there on the front page and pick up that Lee Precision second edition modern reloading book, or even the Lyman 50th edition reloading handbook. And over there on Brownells right now, and pick both of those up and get free shipping with code MCP.
And I'm going to take a second because I appreciate that you keep telling people about that. It is encouraging people to use the links because I've seen people using them in the last couple of days. Brought in like $3 again, I think, the other day. So I appreciate that. But also people were posting in the chat, and I don't know if you saw it, that I think he posted twice that he saved $4 from your code because he was going to buy something anyway, I guess. So win-win.
Yeah, you'll definitely save money too. So.
And it looks like you're saving as much as we're getting. So if they're charging 20%, they're taking a 10% cut and giving us each a cut of that. So it's pretty decent.
I wouldn't even be opposed to somebody buying the 49th edition, because if you're not loading the latest cartridges, like what the hell, that Valkyrie or
Yep, the Valkyrie.
something like that, most of what you need is in the 49th. I have it too.
And you can often pick those up too for a little bit less. I bet you Brownells has that one also. They probably have the 49th, and and that one might be a little bit cheaper than the newest, latest edition, right?
It was. I think I've seen the latest edition for like $20 now. So
one thing I like about Lyman is that they have little books basically, right, for specific calibers or a specific series of calibers, like just for varmint loads, right? And then they have one like just for like pretty much like classic, like hunting loads, like 270 30-06. So you get like an entire book that's like really focused on certain calibers or a certain set of calibers.
now on that same idea, I would not recommend buying Lyman's pistol book or handgun book, because it's not much cheaper than buying the whole damn reloading book. And it is exactly the same damned information. There's a lot in the Lyman and the Lee book both that are, I don't know if you're going to say the Hows and Whys reloading. There's a shit ton of information in there before you get to reloading data that makes those books valuable.
One thing I really like about the Lee book is, not only do they go into like ammunition prep and tips and tricks and stuff like that, but they actually like really get into detail on, gee, if you start to like overcharge this caliber, this is what you're going to expect, and this is what's going to happen when you start to get on the high pressure side, or if you're on the low pressure side, this is what you're going to expect if you undercharge this caliber. And so I like the Lee, because the Lee just goes into a lot of detail on a lot of different aspects, just not load data. So
makes you wonder how many guns he blew up.
Right? Exactly. Or just like hurt at least bulged barrels or something, right? Like, oh nope, that was too hot.
Yeah. If you can see your way clear, buy both those two, the Lyman and the Lee, because there's a wealth of information in those things beyond reloading data. And Richard Lee, if you read the book, the first part of the book, must have balls the size of basketballs, because he talks about overloads that he's done.
Yep.
And Richard Lee is the one that come out and said, there is no margin of safety on the top end loads. They're what they are. That's the maximum load you should use. They did not back them off a little bit to be safe. And I think he said that his book and Lyman both, they were at the top.
I've heard that from several other people that. Like I've heard some other people reference other books and then say, oh, you still got some wiggle room in there, right? But I've heard that repeated many times, that like with at least the Lee book, that whatever the Lee book says, you do not go over that no matter what. That is the tippity top.
Yeah, he says that in the book somewhere.
He actually talked about like crystallization of the steel and stuff from some of these high pressure rounds. and like how it'll affect the barrel over long-term use. So it might not blow up on the first round, might not blow up on the 10th round, right? But then all of a sudden you shoot like 30 rounds, and then that's like the stress on the steel. Then boom, that's where you have a barrel pop, right? And stuff like that. And yeah, like his books are really, really good.
Yeah, that's if you're going to be a reloader, you should have those. And I've got
Right.
I was going to say I've got several others too, and you buy like Sierra or Hornady, you get loads for their bullets. So if you're not using their bullets, the load data may not be quite right.
I think that's the same with Nosler also.
Yeah.
If there's a lull there, I don't want to keep interrupting.
Go ahead.
But I see that Patriot is saying Midnight was looking into setting up a reloading chat, and I don't know if it was on air or off air, but Dead Horse was talking about getting some of the OG gun channels folks who were all about who are all about reloading, and will talk your ear off about it. When we started gun channels, you know, it wasn't established like kind of we have today with a bunch of people doing things. So some of the stuff that people were farting around with were often reloading things. So there was some epic chats back in the day, but instead of trying to go back and watch, you know, chats and try to figure out where stuff is, I'm sure we could bring those people who were in those chats and who know all that stuff and bring everybody together. So I think a couple of things. One, just to voice it again, it sounds like there are some people interested in doing reloading chat. I'm not one of them. I don't have anything against it. I just don't reload that much. So I'm not going to schedule it, but I'll urge people to figure out a time amongst yourselves when you can do it, and I'll help promote that. Yeah, so people show up for it. And what I was going to also add, go ahead.
I was going to say, if they do it in the daytime, I'd be happy to be there. I mean, old man daytime.
Well, that's what I was kind of thinking, is maybe try to figure out when you can do them and at a time when it's not going to conflict with all the primetime stuff. Because that's, I guess, what's happening now is there's a lot of primetime stuff stacked up. And I imagine there's probably a perception of like, oh, we don't want to step on anybody's toes. And literally somebody can't join if they're in their own chat or something. So that'll be a challenge, I guess, to figure out when. But I guess what I was going to say is I was thinking about doing this anyway, and this is a great chance to actually put it into effect. But I've got I don't know if anybody remembers looking at askgunquestions.com. Bought that domain a long, long time ago, and years ago I set it up to basically just be a collection for people who have questions. So if you have a question, you go on the internet and you say Ask Gun Questions, that's going to come up because it's been around forever. And it's nothing but a Google form. I guess I could be showing it to you, but it's just a Google form that says what's your question and what's your name. And then that's it. And then they say click submit. And there's literally thousands, probably by now, questions that have been asked. And back in the olden days when we had our own system set up, I could actually do something with those questions. And it was quite useful. And I think it was a valid use of time and everything. But lately it's just been sitting there. And it's always frustrating to just have questions go unanswered because somebody did ask a question. So I know that you and Tony, you and Jimmy had been using that for a while in this show, right? You would go in and dig into those questions and address them. So
yeah, because for some reason I couldn't open it up. I
didn't share it. I don't trust you. You're from Illinois. Who knows what your corruption is going on over there?
But yeah, when Jimmy was here, we did that. We went through that once a week at least.
So what I'm thinking is I just haven't applied any effort into thinking about it. But like I said, I wanted to do a couple of things with this early watch to help you guys out or with the nation or whatever. But what we can do for that Ask Gun Questions and with this whole reloading thing is set up a specific place for a reloading question. And then that way, maybe you guys can, whenever I get that set up here in a day or two, use that to start creating a list of questions. And then I'll create it a little bit more interactive so that once you've answered a question, you can like check it off or something. And then depending on how useful it is, maybe even have a way to, this question was answered in this chat, have a way to link, like, here's your answer, it's in this chat, and maybe even with a timestamp, right? So anyway, I'm going to see if I can't figure out a way to make a tool that you guys can use to start to keep track of some of the questions everybody has. In other words, if you know once a week you're going to be talking about reloading, and there's a tool, a place you can go and post questions, then that's a way that on Thursday you could say, oh, I got a crazy reloading question. Instead of having to remember it or make yourself a note, just go drop the question in that tool. And then next Wednesday, when the thing comes around, you can, oh yeah, I remember I asked that question now, and then bring it up to the group.
I am honestly, I'm surprised at how many people emailed me the last 2 or 3 weeks. One, I didn't think that many people even listened to us. But before I talked about it last week, I had like 8 emails asking, and then I had a couple over the weekend here, but only the one I really addressed on the show because, danger. The other one, I just answered the question. I don't even remember what it was now. But one thing I want to say to wrap up this reloading thing is, do not use non-verifiable information, like from the internet.
Exactly. For real.
Because
You
there's a
double
lot
check.
of
Like, you can get some advice and some like kind of ideas, but then you always go double check that. You
I'll
know,
tell
with
you.
a proper book.
And I'll tell you how bad this whole thing gets is the last month's issue of Guns and Ammo had a thing about making up duplex black powder loads. And the chief from Hodgdon Powder Company comes on in the, what the hell they call it? Anyway, he wrote a letter into Guns and Ammo saying, you guys are fucking stupid. This is not a good idea at all. You never mix black powder and smokeless. So, and Guns and Ammo you'd think would be a reputable magazine. They're giving piss poor information. Buy those books.
Yeah, like I'll listen to someone. Someone says, okay, like 25.1 grains of this powder works really, really good for this caliber, and then I'll be like, okay, and then I'll go look at the book, and if it's in that safety margin, right, like then I'm like, okay, I'll try that out, and we'll see how accurate it is out of my gun, or if it's like, we'll see how that works. I'm willing to try it out, but like I will always double check everything someone tells me like that with the proper book. You don't want to just, take someone's word for it, because we're all humans. We all make mistakes, right?
I'm willing to go overload sometimes if I'm not getting what I want, accuracy wise, just to see if more pressure makes it work better. Usually, no, it's not. Usually, it's lower, but it's very, very minimal. Like a tenth of a grain at a time looking, and I probably wouldn't go 5/10 over because I don't want to fucking blow shit up.
It makes me think something about the way you're describing it there. I'm just kind of thinking about, I guess, if you guys started doing some sort of a regular reloading show, it would sort of be starting again, right? So you'd probably start from the basics and whatnot. I was just thinking about that, and my experiences with reloading come from being a little kid, and we reloaded because it was cheaper. Like, we reloaded for cost, right? And as long as I was basically doing as I was told, and I was able to keep the machines on point, like, I didn't put much thought into anything. My dad told me what to do, and I did it over and over and over, right? I didn't get into the theory or anything really, and I was just pulling triggers, I guess, as a kid, because it wasn't until later now when I've got my own stuff and I started reloading for my own 44, taking it, and that was when I was being a range safety officer, so I was at the range every single week, multiple times, so I was shooting a lot, and that's where I was, shooting my 44 to save money originally. But then as I started to play with it, no one had ever told me this. Like I say, I started my whole life, I thought reloading was a cost-saving effort. And I knew that people that reload for hunting get all worried about their loads, right? But I just figured that was people being nerds and liking to nerd out on their nerd stuff. So anyway, I'm reloading for 44, and I'm like, man, this gun kind of blows, right? And then I reloaded different powder. I ran out of something or something happened, and I switched. And then I'm like, wow, my gun automatic, like, it shoots better. Like I was like my groups got better, and it's not like I changed. I shoot all the time. I shoot this gun all the time. Nothing about the gun changed, but all of a sudden, like, groups are tighter, like noticeably. And that's when I started going, oh, look, what's the difference? Like, I'm using the same projectile. It's the same cases I'm reloading over. The primers haven't changed, but my powder changed. And I didn't change the grains or nothing either. It was the same load or whatever. And that's when I started figuring out that guns, a machine, with something about the characteristics of that diameter and the length of the barrel and the blah, 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 something about each individual gun. There's like this sweet spot where you can reload any projectile that come, from some range from here to here. Anything will come out of the barrel. But I guess it's sort of like you're got water coming out of a hose. Like, it's coming out of the hose. But if you want it to hit some specific rose bush or whatever, it's all about sticking your finger in that nozzle just the right way and holding it at just the right angle, right? That you start to get that ultimate reach out of whatever the hell pressure is coming out of that hose. The hose didn't change. The pressure of the water didn't change. It's just something about the way you're jamming your finger in there, got that water over to that rose bush. And that's sort of what it's like with reloading. And that's where I started having super fun, because then I was at the shop every freaking weekend buying different powders. And then, like, once I could figure out, oh, okay, this is an extreme this way and this is an extreme this way, then it's like you say, you kind of figure, like, I'm going to shoot these at this grain and I'm going to put one extra grain in, and you start to see this curve where, like, oh, it gets better and better, and then it gets worse again. And that's the stuff that was kind of fun for a minute. And then I guess to keep going from there, as soon as you figure out something that works perfect, they quit making it, or something's wrong and you can't find it again. And now you got to go through all that again. And then it becomes sort of a pain in the ass. But I imagine you could probably stick with the stuff that might not be perfect, but you can obtain all the time and deal with it. But I don't know if anybody's ever started from that premise that, like, it can be just more than a cost saving thing. Sometimes it's just a fun way to, like, get really, really good with the gun. Like, if your gun is good, play with the ammo and you'll get even better.
Yeah, that's where I come from. I started for accuracy. I started reloading 22-250. Shit, I forgot where the hell I was going. Oh, those of us who are chasing accuracy, you don't hear us saying reloading will save you money.
No. Or time. I mean, you can spend a lot of time just per round, especially like just really like, bumping back shoulders 1/1000th of an inch and stuff. I mean, just, you can really get into a lot of time just per round to reload accurate ammo.
Yeah.
And only accurate rifles are interesting, right?
No.
Well, that was a quote from Colonel Townsend Whelan. Like, he's the guy who made all the famous Whelan cartridges. Like, that's a quote from him. Only accurate rifles are interesting.
But I've come from the school that every rifle could be accurate, as long as it's not damaged, if you figure it out.
I'm kind of from that school of thought too. Like, I've had some really, really cheap barrels shoot surprisingly well. And if I'm using factory ammo, I have to, maybe have to buy several different brands before I find one that, shoots really good out of it. But with reloading, you can really fine tune. You have control over your powder, your primer, your projectile, your case dimensions. There's all sorts of really fancy dies that can do stuff like bump shoulders back and just, you know, really fancy die sets out there that do very specialized things. And you can get very, very picky about the ammo you're putting through your gun.
Yeah, yeah. It is like any other obsession. The chase for accuracy, especially if you have more numerous guns, it ain't cheap. Because with all the plethora of powders out there, you also have a plethora of bullets. And I've been pretty fortunate to be able to come across bullets that work well. I have really good luck with Hornady stuff, and I have really good luck with Spear. But
I've never really used Spear. I've mostly been Hornady, Nosler. Like those are my two go to.
I was kind of a fan of Spear back in the day because I used them for black powder. But I'm more into Hornady now. I just buy Spear when I have to.
You ever cast any of your own bullets, Tony?
I haven't, no. I casted ball for black powder and I didn't care for it. There's not enough savings in doing that to make it worthwhile to me, because you know the only ones that I'd probably cast, I wouldn't cast anything for 30-06 or the 22 caliber because I like my velocities faster than lead likes, and to put gas checks on, that's just shit I don't want to do.
I think my little loading casting I have is it's an Elmer Keith bullet, and for 41 mag, but I think it's Lyman that makes it, and that's how I cast my 41 mag is with that. But that little Lyman casting tool that I have like that pops out Elmer Keith bullets in 41 mag, and they are accurate. They are very, very accurate even for my really crappy castings.
There's no doubt that you can have good luck with casting. I just don't want to do it.
I've had to do it just to be able to shoot 41 mag for years at the pin shoots, because like if you were to buy like factory new 41 mag, it runs more than 44 mag. You know, it's super expensive, so you can't. It's hard to afford to shoot factory ammo out of a 41 mag. It really is. It's super expensive. A lot of the times it's $1 a round. You know, it's nothing to, you know, it gets pricey. So I was forced to go that route.
I can get bullets here, plain lead bullets here for $80 a 1,000, and that's just fine by me. I don't, for my 44. I bought jacketed stuff. I have a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 jacketed hollow points here that I haven't even loaded yet. Because I'm not carrying the gun, and I already loaded up a bunch of them from a previous batch of bullets that I had. So buying bullets doesn't bother me too much. 4570 is a little different because 405 grain bullets, you know, the bullets are they're priced basically on their weight. So, you know, 4570 bullets are considerably more money than 45 Colt bullets. But, you know, I've shot that sumbitch twice, so it doesn't matter. Expense is not the real issue. I got a whole bunch of bullets for that sucker, and I ain't used any yet. Hardly.
Well, I got a dilemma. My garbage man's coming down the street. Do I go run out and grab my neighbor's garbage and take it out to the curb? I don't know. Am I going to be that nice guy today? Yeah, I think I will be. I'll be right back.
All right. God,
That's
why
what-
don't you move in right next to me? Take the trash out and mow the yard. All right. I've said enough for today. We can wrap it up if you want to. You want to wait till Dead Horse gets back and see if he wants to stay more.
We should probably just not ditch him so he comes back to an empty room or whatever.
Let me see what I got here that I might find interesting to kill a few minutes.
Guess
All
I'll
right.
throw out there since we're plugging
Wow.
stuff. I do have the cartooning as a service up on the gearwebsites.com, I think. So if you want to gift that to somebody, I'll do something for some channel that you think deserves it or you'd like to gift it to or something like that. Go ahead.
Cool. While we was talking about bullets, I'll just bring out 5 things that affect your bullet. Basically, we're talking exterior ballistics. From the time the bullet leaves the end of the barrel till it hits the target. First off, and these are common sense things. I mean, it's nothing earth-shattering or new. Velocity. The faster it goes, flatter it flies. That's just the way it works. Along those same lines, number 2 on this list is bullet drop. So that spins more towards the weight of the bullet and velocity. Number 3 is trajectory. All of these things are the same damn thing, basically. Number 4 is mid-range trajectory. And 5, I don't know what the hell that is, maximum ordinate. Maximum ordnance is a high point of mid-range trajectory. There is a sighting technique referred to as maximum point blank range. And what this refers to is like if you were to shoot your gun through a pipe the size of the target that you want to hit. So the vital area of an animal or the bullseye on the target. And maximum point blank is where if you put that crosshairs on that target in the center, it'll hit at any point of the bullet travel. So like if you have it set at say 200 yards, at any point from point blank to 200 yards, if you got that scope or sights on the center of the target, it will hit in the target area. So that's where all of this shit comes in. All right, I got nothing.
I think I got a woodpecker pecking on something out there. You guys have to worry about woodpeckers out there?
They're around here, but kind of I don't see them around my place much. You hear them out in the forest a lot, and there's evidently more than one size because some of them sound like a fucking jackhammer, some of them sound like woodpecker. Honestly, some of them sound like somebody's hitting it with a hammer. So evidently fairly hefty bird, but I don't know that I've ever seen one that looked bigger. You know, basically we get the red-headed woodpeckers here.
Yeah, we don't have that bigger ones. Ours are smaller, but they're ballsy.
I got a half a dozen doves that are settling in my backyard. I like doves, but they're noisy as hell.
Yeah. They let you know they're there.
Doves and cardinals. Cardinals are noisier than shit too.
I can handle the cardinal though. I like that noise.
Actually, for birds, I like barn swallows best. They don't really make any noise, but they're really cool to watch fly.
Since we're talking
Yep.
birds, waiting for Dead Horse to get back, you have any opinions on cranes?
I don't know. I really don't have any experience with them.
We don't have very many lakes out here, so the lakes that we've got that you can fish on are the same lakes that birds want to hang out at because there's not that many lakes, right? So I don't like cranes because every time I go fishing, they get out there in the morning. You know, you get out there, depending on where we're going. Sometimes we'll go out at night and then, you know, be there right away in the morning or whatever, or maybe get up super early and get out there. But anyway, it's always some kind of effort to get out going fishing, right? You get out there and you start getting your lines in the water, and then here's some fucking crane. Like they own the fucking lake and they're all mad about it. Hate those stupid birds.
Locally here, we have a pretty good sized flock of geese that do not migrate.
Oh, they just figured out they can live there.
Yeah, they stay around. You know, we got a number of small ponds and small lakes here. Borrow pits along the interstate. There's a bunch of those. Plus, there's a little resort type of high rent. Shit, what the hell am I thinking? A little cul-de-sac thingy out 5 miles out of town here that has a couple of lakes in it. And that's where they're basically home at, on Bernardo Lake. And that lake, no matter how cold it gets, it never freezes because of, or there's spots of it that never freeze because of the geese. They keep it from freezing. It's weirdest damn thing. I'm like, when the last time I was out there, which was years ago, I'm like, don't you fuckers know you're supposed to get the fuck out of here? Go where it's warm in the winter? They're another bunch of noisy goddamn birds.
Yeah.
And
Messy.
they will chase your ass too.
Yeah. Well, you can stop that by turning around and chasing after them and smacking them, and then they quit it. But yeah, they'll chase after people that run away from them.
You can stop them by shooting them too.
Well, not in most of Illinois. We're still waiting for Dead Horse to get back. I got a goose story. So,
Cool.
little kid, my grandparents had this big fat dachshund. It was so fat that it had, like, its belly hit the ground all the time. My grandma was crazy, and she fed it way too much. And I think I've talked about my one uncle who had he's a kind of a dick, and his dogs were like, I guess he had one house dog, but most of his dogs were like outside, tied up, junkyard type of dogs. He was kind of a dick to dogs. He was a dick to dogs. And some friend of theirs went out of town, and they were raising geese to eat them, right? Like, they had a bunch of geese, and they were like half the size of a chicken. They weren't quite geese yet, but they weren't babies either, right? So they were kind of medium-sized baby geese. Not babies anymore, young geese. And they were like they had like a wash machine box, like a piece of cardboard box that was big, like a wash machine, with the bottom broke out, and then cinder blocks or something, on the outside of the box, and all these geese were inside of this box. And I guess they were going to put them, I don't know what they're going to do with them, but they were in this box in the yard. And I was looking at them, and they weren't little enough to be that interesting, right? They were just a bunch of geese in this box. So my uncle's standing there, and he thought it was hilarious to pick the dog up and show him what was in the box, right? So now my grandma's dog, who's also, you know, that dog, she liked to eat. And so now she knows there's a bunch of geese in that box. And I think we went inside to eat lunch or something and came back out. Where's the dog? Where's the dog? Sure enough, the dog is inside that box. And it's like just sitting there with a big grin on his face and nothing but feathers and blood everywhere. And that's my geese story.
Oh, shit. I don't know. You said that. I was thinking it was going a different way. But made me think of turkeys. One of the few critters that on the barn lot that scared me was a fucking turkey. A damn tom turkey with big old spurs and shit can actually fuck you up pretty good.
Huh.
There's rumors about people being killed by them. While hunting, they'll put them in their, you know, you have the game bag on the back of your vest. And for some reason, turkeys, after they die, they don't flop around like the chicken right away. They start doing it after a couple of minutes. At least according to the story I read. I don't remember ever seeing a turkey actually done. No. But evidently, this young man put one in his game bag before it had done its thing, and it started kicking and flopping in his game bag and pierced his spine with a spur.
Huh.
I don't know if that's true or just a wives' tale. That's basically what they said in the article, too. It's an urban legend type of thing, maybe.
Well, the only thing that seems the most fishy about it is those things like you're talking about are for like doves and maybe a pigeon, I guess. But, you know, they're not, the turkeys are huge. I wouldn't put a turkey back there. I guess we had nothing else to do with it. But most people just drag turkeys around by their neck, right?
I don't know. I've never shot one. Ain't
Well,
worth it.
I mean, a giant one, you can't. You got to throw it over your back. Like your ass fucking thing if it's like 20-something pounds.
That may be what he did. He may have had a string tied to it. I don't know.
Well, I can see that, I guess, if you're like, hey, don't be an idiot and throw it over your back. Because, yeah, I mean, you're putting it over your back and it starts thrashing around. Like, say, they're not little. I don't know. I mean, I guess it would probably startle me if some turkey was being a dick, but I'd take a turkey out. I ain't worried about no spikes. I'll go with my usual MO, punch them in the eyes. Then they don't know what's going on.
It's not a thing with wild turkey. I mean, as far as I know, I have never run across an aggressive wild turkey. Usually they're get the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah. I imagine, like, you know, they live up in trees when they're sleeping or whatever. Like, maybe if you were poking around underneath of there and they got sick of waiting, like, they might come down and cause all kinds of hell as they dropped on you. I've never heard of that, though. I'm just guessing maybe a turkey could do that.
Well, I'll tell you, once my brother-in-law and I, or my former brother-in-law and I, were going out night coyote hunting at our local state forest. And as we're walking back to where we're going to hunt, we disturbed a pine tree full of regular crow, and they took off, flight, all at once. You want to talk about a few minutes of being just petrified of what you heard. I can't hardly describe the sound of it, really. But, I mean, I've been shocked by pheasants jumping, and they say turkeys are the same way. If they kick up, they're really loud. But, Jesus Christ, this was something completely different from that. Scared the shit out of both of us for a minute. Well, they started calling, you know. Then you knew what it was. I mean, hell, I thought Bigfoot was getting us at first.
So my guest on the YouTube side said earlier that lead was more accurate. Russ already answered him, but yeah, the lead can fully interact with the lands and grooves, so it gets the most efficiency out of them and kind of conforms to them. Where the copper, the whole point is to reduce cleaning, so you're not allowing the lead to jam out and really take advantage of all those lands and grooves. Therefore, it's not spinning as effectively, I guess, or as efficiently. Is that all there is to it, or is there more to it than that?
There's some provisos to that. On certain riflings, velocity lead ain't very good because it strips out. So, you know, I have, Jesus, I don't know. I'd always figured a good jacketed bullet was better than lead. But with 44, which is the one that I played with the most, I don't really see different.
It's a little different cleaning out like a revolver versus like a bolt gun or something, or a AR, which is kind of a pain in the ass if you have to really clean lead out. You know, or maybe not even bolt actions that the bolt doesn't come out clear or something. Like some guns are just a pain in the butt to clean, right? So compared to a revolver, which you can just manipulate it any way you want, and get at it easily.
I know you start pushing velocity and the lead don't like it. I mean, I think up around 2,000 feet per second is about the limit for lead. I know you can harden it and get a little bit more, but there's a lot of friction on that bullet as it's going. So,
okay, so now you're talking like it can't be effective because it's going so fast. The friction, it keeps it too hot to actually interact with the lands and grooves what you want. It's just gonna be a big, like shoving a melted marshmallow down there or something.
Are you talking about bullet skip?
We were talking about why lead is more accurate than copper, and kind of got down to what Tony was saying, that when you get to too high a velocity, it's diminishing returns or something, like you can go too fast in the lead. I was just pondering on why lead wouldn't work as good going too fast.
Oh, yeah, definitely, because of bullet skip. That's why lead seems to be more accurate out of pistols.
Oh, that's what they call it, bullet skip? It's like skipping the lands or something?
Yeah. Yeah, and if you can recover a projectile in pretty good condition, you can just, tell from the bullet itself that, gee, man, I'm pushing this too fast for my rifling. Or, worn out gun barrels get it more often, I would say. Like if you have a barrel that, like an AR that has 10,000 rounds through that barrel, it's very possible that you're getting bullet skip for like the first 4 or 5 or 6 inches of that barrel before the bullet really is contacting the lands and grooves and is really spinning the way it's supposed to.
Another one is Marlin's micro groups. They don't like to be pushed too fast either.
Yep.
We were kind of waiting for you to get back to that horse so we could wrap it up. Tony was done with stuff, but we wanted to give you.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Like I said, I went to take my neighbor's trash out, and then they heard me taking it out. Then they had to come out and talk to me and thank me and all that.
No worries. I was just gonna say though that I've been working on actually I'm working right now on posting an Indiegogo crowdfunding thing for the 2A history project, at least the firearms inventors deck that I'm going to do next. So as I'm researching that, trying to figure out 54 gun inventors, there's more than 54 for sure, but once you get down to the, 40s or 50s, 40s, I guess, you start making decisions on who to include and who not to include. So as I was going through that process, I was looking for more and more stuff that I missed to make sure I didn't miss anything like obvious, right? And that's where I started finding things like Weatherby and some of the companies that I'm less familiar with because they're bolt guns. And it was just kind of interesting. Like, say, I've never really been super interested, but I don't know if you guys have followed the story or the history of Weatherby.
No, I really haven't.
Tony, have you ever, that guy or followed that?
No, I haven't either. I'm not really that big of a fan of Weatherby or Nosler for what they're doing, making bullets for their gun only.
Yeah, and see, that's kind of what it is. So I guess he was a guy who was into high power,
African Safari cartridges.
yeah, maxing out the cartridges, and then beyond that, making actions that could handle the biggest and even bigger cartridges and stuff. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. And he was like a guy who just started doing this in the 50s, and he had a reputation. And he's almost like I'm going to say, to bring it into our terms, maybe like a Miklik or somebody who was like, you know, in the culture, in the community, and then started a business, and then it became I don't know, I guess you'd call Weatherby a household name. Anyway, as I was discovering some of these that I had never really looked into before, I thought it might be interesting to chat about some of those, especially with ones that you guys might be familiar with, even if you're not.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty familiar with a competitor to Weatherby called Noreen that made a lot of the same stuff. And he would make like Winchesters in Weatherby cartridges because like no one else, like Weatherby wouldn't, right? And so they were doing stuff like modifying Winchesters to shoot Weatherby cartridges. So I'm pretty familiar with Noreen. I own one of their rifles. They're a great company.
I need to announce breaking news here. Supreme Court just upheld Trump's travel ban.
So what does that mean?
Certain people from certain countries can't come here because they pose a threat to our population.
Oh, is this the anti-Muslim campaign or whatever?
I don't think it's I think it includes more than just like predominantly Muslim countries.
It was like one of the first things, though, is what I'm saying. That's like one of the first things he proposed, right? And they said, "Oh, you're anti-Muslim," and then it's been all this time until they finally. Oh, I guess the Supreme
1.5 years, yeah.
I was thinking just having implemented. It got implemented, got halted, and then went to the Supreme Court. Now they ruled on it. So that makes more sense.
Trump won. So you can see all these reporters sad. I think it's great.
Patriot just posted a suggestion for a totally blind gun designer, and I'm just way too tired. So please email me or something so I don't miss that one. It's just going to get lost in the chat, and I might totally forget that you mentioned it even. So this is my evening, late
Where the hell
evening,
did you mention that at?
on the YouTube side.
I gotta check. Oh, okay. I'm not watching YouTube.
Jelsma said the West cards were big in Mexico. It's interesting. Maybe I should do a Spanish set. I'd be down for that. So we talked about doing a reloading chat, getting together with people that are interested in reloading. It's been popular in the past on gun channels, so I suspect it would be a good time for everybody involved. And it's kind of interesting for people that are just gun people to listen to nerds nerd out about it. If it's not like the millionth time you've heard it, it can be kind of fun to hear all the aspects to it, and they end up talking about things that you never even knew, or
tips and tricks and different ways of doing the same thing.
And I'd say good 60% of gun channels is having your money spent for you. So think about how much money you don't even know you want to spend yet until you talk to a bunch of reloading people. Holy moly. Don't even just give them a credit card. It'll be easier just giving your PayPal number.
Yep, I messaged a whole bunch of OG reloaders that have had some really epic, really good reloading chats. I mean, some of these guys reload thousands of rounds a week because they're competitive shooters and stuff like that. And I asked for times and that they would be available to do a reloading chat. And I'm just kind of waiting to hear back from them. But yeah, I definitely want to get some reloading chats going because I got a couple new presses coming. And yeah, like I'm going to be venturing into some territory that I'm not familiar with, so I need help. I need help. I need these experts to come help me. That's why I really am pushing the reloading chat, is because I want to pick their brains, right?
Well, I mentioned that. Well, that's cool. I mean, I think that's worth doing. I mentioned it, though, not just to bring it up again, but also just when Josma was saying Mexico, one of the things I've been wanting to do just personally is get my Spanish better. I've taken some classes, but as soon as the class is over and I'm not actively, studying for quizzes or something, I lose it. So everybody I know from Border Patrol and federal agents and stuff, and others that I know that have, mastered other languages, it's all about immersion and just using the language. Getting familiar with the words and stuff comes from using it. So I've approached this before with Spanish-speaking members on gun channels, and there's been interest, but I would like to throw it out there again because we have quite a few people listening live right now. And in case anybody listens to this in the future, I'd be down for creating a channel over there. If we might even already have a channel where we just get together once in a while, maybe not weekly, but even just once in a while, to just get into a chat and speak Spanish for those of us that are, you know, learning or fledgling or whatever the hell the word is for, you know, getting our feet wet with it. And, you know, it's just one of them skills. And the class I took last was Spanish for law enforcement. And it was just a whole better, it was just a way cooler way to learn it when you're learning stuff like, I'm going to kill this guy, or like, you know, let him handcuff me. And like, and you're learning actual phrases that, you know, you'd want to know that are being said. Like, it makes learning the language a lot more interesting than like, you know, where's the bathroom and boring shit. So, and if anybody's down with that, I figure maybe on gun channels, you know, that might be a way to have conversations, maybe watch some movies in Spanish or something. I know that we got GunTube. So if anybody's interested in that, you know, get with me on gun channels and we'll figure out a time to do it. Also doing some two-way workshops, or at least I'm available if anybody wants to dig into their two-way projects and get some advice. It's free. Otherwise, well, there's no otherwise. So if anybody wants that opportunity, let me know. I don't know if Tony's coming back. I don't know if he lost connection or if he just said he's done.
I didn't hear him say anything. I think he just might have lost connection. I know his internet is kind of spotty at times.
Maybe we can accomplish both and save a little time by doing a reloading chat in Spanish and Espanol. That's got to be that's a win-win, I think, right there. Learning Spanish at the same time you're learning numbers and simple ass reloading techniques.
And I think I would get something mixed up and blow up a gun.
Estano, like, I don't know.
Peligro.
All right, so I don't know. I guess for now we should probably wait for Tony for a minute at least. So I'm going to quit screen sharing. I don't need to keep doing that. Thanks again for everybody who showed up live, and people are watching in the future. Let us know you're out there. Email us, I guess, at dailygunshow@gmail.com. Pick an email at random, and let us know if you enjoyed the show, if there's something we can do to make it different or easier for you to deal with. We've got all kinds of interesting suggestions over the years. We don't take them all, but stuff that makes the show better for you, you know, we will take those suggestions into consideration.
Speaking of reloading, though, real quick, Clover Tech on his Instagram page reposted a thing from Starline Brass, which is a premier brass manufacturer. They're giving away a Dillon XL650 progressive reloading machine, along with like powder and bullets and like all sorts of stuff for whatever caliber you want. And so Clover Tech has that posted over on Instagram on his Instagram page. But that's a pretty good, like, I don't enter a lot of giveaways, like only stuff I really, really want. But that's definitely one I'm going to enter because, you know, that's a really good giveaway that I suspect not. Like, I don't think it's going to get like a whole bunch of entries because Starline Brass, I mean, they have less followers than I do. And, you know, so that might be one with pretty good odds of entering. So I'll throw that out there to all the Gun Channels members.
Well, I was trying to play this in order to like be right on top of what you said there, but stupid ad came up and ruined it. But at least it came back for Tony, so. Okay, that would have been a lot funnier if I dropped it right when you said what I really want.
What I miss? I had to go reboot my damn phone.
We've just been listening to Spice Girls videos on the YouTube. It's been pretty fun.
I missed nothing.
Eating Oreos. Talking about the clothes that everybody was wearing yesterday.
I just mentioned I just mentioned that a Starline Brass is giving away a Dylan XL 650 on their Instagram page. A Clover Tack has it posted on his Instagram page for people to find it easier. And that looks just like an awesome giveaway, and it doesn't look like there's going to be a huge amount of entries, so it looks like it's pretty good odds.
What are we talking about of this kit?
Like how much money?
Yeah, what's it cost to buy that?
Oh, over $1,000. So it's over $1,000 value when you include the powder, the bullets, and everything. I think just that machine, I think, runs about $650 just for the machine. And then they're giving you a whole bunch of powder and bullets and brass and stuff and whatever caliber you want. So yeah, you're probably looking somewhere close to $1,000.
Well, that's nice of them. I don't ever win nothing, so.
Well, I figure stuff like that, it doesn't cost nothing. It's not even like playing the lottery where you got to pay $1 or whatever, right? So unless it's like a nuisance where you're going to get a bunch of emails or something out of it, might as well. That's cost nothing to play.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't. I know there's people that seek those things out and participate as often as possible, probably with the idea that the more you participate, the more chance you got. But I don't think math works that way. Because you wanna fucking roll heads doesn't mean it's gonna roll heads.
Well, there's another reason why you want to enter, even if you don't necessarily need that press or want that press, but just by entering the contest, which all you do is just like go to the Starline Brass Instagram page to enter. But for every entry, Starline Brass is going to donate $1 to America's Mighty Warriors, which is a organization that supports veterans and their families. And so they're going to be donating money to that good cause. So if you enter, that's an extra $1 that's going to go to that organization. And that's, from what I hear, that's a really stand-up organization. So, there's even a bonus to entering there. So I think everyone should enter no matter what, just to help support that organization. Make Starline Brass send that organization $10,000. Let's get 10,000 entries, I care more about that than winning the press, honestly.
Speaking of that, or along those lines, if you go on to Midway and buy something and check out, you go and they offer the NRA Roundup, which means giving your change to the NRA or making a donation to the NRA right there. I cannot believe how many millions of freaking dollars they've raised. It's like 15 million bucks. I'm like, for Christ's sake, stop sending me shit in the mail, NRA. You're getting plenty of money. Fire LaPierre and Cox. Just don't refill them positions. You'll never need a dime again.
Oh, we're all in here. Nope, we're still here. I'm fading. The chat's been quiet, although it's been active, but it has quieted down. And I don't know what everybody's got going on, but I'm guessing we're getting towards the end of the show. I think we already mentioned Knives will be doing something live, we suspect, sooner than later. Today is, I guess we didn't mention it on this show. We just did this 5 minutes ago on the Daily Gun Show, though. Today's Tuesday, so we've got all the fun stuff coming up, starting with Ellis. The schedule to pop up in front of me. Yep, Hanging with the Outlaw at 6 p.m. Eastern. Andalusia Army is still on their temporary vacation, but it's worth mentioning they were one of the early supporters of gun channels. They actually probably the first gun shop that came on. They started their whole entire online venture with gun channels. So that was an awesome effort on there.
I'm really looking forward for those guys coming back.
Yeah, it was so fucking cool. All right, well, that's my show. Fucking. So, yeah, these guys would close their shop a little early on Tuesdays, and they would kick the computers on, run a webcam, and chat about what it was like in the shop that week. and they were musicians. They talk about music and making music once in a while, going around a little bit and doing shows. They talked about politics and whatever was in the news, and then a lot of guns. And they had run a gun shop in New York, if I remember right, and then moved down to Alabama, and just a hell of a freaking cool show. And that's what Gun Channel is all about. I personally am a big fan of gun shops, and the characters that run them and the characters that show up at them are an interesting, facet of the whole country, right? So that was really the perfect show for Gun Channels, and we leave that spot there in memory of that show, and hopefully they'll come back and do it again. They're really leading the way. Look how many other gun shops do that. That's not because they did it, they're emulated, but they were definitely out there doing it. 5 years ago now. All right, then we got Ghost coming in, Tactical Tuesday, where he does this Tuesday show. And I don't know if I know the topic of this one yet. I don't think he's posted it anywhere, so we'll find out what the topic is. And then Night Strike and Smeggy, I don't know how long they've been doing that show. Probably 4 years now, 3 years? At least 3. Been doing hit or miss, so Smeggy's done an effective job of brainwashing everyone. I don't think anyone can even say or think of the word hit or miss without saying Tuesday nights at 9. So,
$15 to get that on this show.
Oh hell no! I don't pay nothing. I don't pay them.
Not
nothing.
you, them.
Oh, they have to pay us. You mean?
Yes.
Oh, I'm all down for that, and it should be 25 because we got to give Dead Horse a cut. I don't have on here, and I don't know how it got neglected, and I apologize. But Big Gunner 81, another longtime poster on Gun Channels. He's been posting or been doing his shows for a while, and he's been posting them on Gun Channels, and I got an automated thing running, so I got to go find out if it's like automatically cropping that or if I just neglected to put that last line of code in there. But anyway, it's not on the little brief schedule that shows up on the top of the main page anymore, or for the moment. That'll be fixed, but it's always Big Gunner is on the schedule. When you click on the schedule up at the top right of any page of Gun Channels, it is listed there. Anyway, his show's interesting, and he always manages to have a pretty interesting selection of the community, or the industry, I should say, because he'll have a manufacturer or two on there. He'll have people he's working with on his projects and people that he just knows from networking, and then he'll have some competitive shooters on there, and there's like a random gun builder or some friend of his. Just a really cool show. A lot of times he would have the radio show host of that radio show he worked with in Illinois when he lived over there, and then the gun shops that he works with. And then he does the 50 States of AR project, which was an ambitious project to put together an AR for each state made up of components created in that state. So ideally, a big enough state or a state with enough Second Amendment manufacturing, he could get a receiver, a barrel, all the different parts needed, and then assemble a gun completely, sourced from that state. And when that wasn't possible, each gun was dedicated to that state, and then as many parts as possible were sourced from that state. And he started off on that project, I think, when he just had a decent job, and he wasn't looking for handouts. He wasn't trying to get 50 free rifles. He was buying parts. Would accept like deals and stuff. But super ambitious project and a cool one. It was written about in articles, in publications and stuff, and a tremendous job of just a dude deciding to do something interesting, putting his mind to it, putting in a little bit of work, and then going along for the ride. And I think he's having a good time with it, I would suggest. But with that in mind, have you ever been in a chat with him, Dead Horse?
Oh yeah, I have. Big Gunner's a great guy.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say that would be an interesting one to have him with his experience and insight onto the AR stuff, and then your experience with them. That would be interesting. But then on the other hand, he's got 2 3D printers now, and he's like out there selling 3D printed product.
I know. I saw that. He totally just went crazy on the 3D printer. Like, he had one, and it seemed like just weeks later he was like, "Oh, I outgrew it. Let me get a bigger, better one." Like,
yeah, that's because he's kicking out product on both. I think he's like experimenting on the one and having constant product coming out the other. It seems like just from his Instagram posts. So anyway, that's a couple of things would be interesting to hear you guys chat about. Anyway, so that's another show, and then of course we do the gun show at midnight Eastern. and who knows what other stuff might show up in between all around in there. I'm trying to do some two-way workshops, so if you're interested in getting some free consultation on a two-way project, let me know. We'll do that live so that it becomes recorded and other people can use it, and hopefully it inspires other people to get off their ass and do something. Now, right now is when we fight. Now is when we bring the battle to fucking them. Now is when we sit around getting fatter and lazier and more bitching and moaning that the fucking world ain't working our way. We fucking make the world work our way. I'm done.
God, I tried to tell him that today. Fucking Trump won the election, for fuck's sake.
Good horse. Anything else?
No, that's it. Just come to gunchannels.com and check out, click on the Palmetto State Armory link and check out the Blem 224 Valkyrie uppers they have on sale for $349 right now. $349 shipped for a $550 upper because it has a little Blem on it or something. But to get that deal, you gotta go to Gun Channels and click on the Palmetto State Armory link. So there you go.
From my end, first off, let's say that Tuesday's good day today because I'm supposed to have 1,600 rounds of ammo coming in here. And if anybody wants to ask me questions about anything, reloading, whatever, my email is earlywatchil@gmail.com. And so far, I've answered every legit email I've got. And I will continue to do so as long as I have time. And good day, everybody.
Making pancakes, making bacon pancakes. Take some bacon and I'll put it in a pancake. Bacon pancakes, that's what it's gonna make. Bacon pancakes. Bacon